What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Liberate Your Money, episode 41. It is October 23rd, Saturday morning. We're drinking coffee. We're talking Bitcoin. Guys, we made a new all-time high. We did it. Complacency shoulder my ass, right? So we're going to talk about the Bitcoin ETF. We're going to talk about price action. I'm just so excited. I'm actually going to throw in a couple altcoins that have been killing it for me that I'm just going to talk about and plug them real quick for you guys because I think their charts look amazing. And they've been very profitable for me over the year. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the big news everyone probably already knows about, the Bitcoin ETF. First one finally got approved with ProShares. It kicked off on Tuesday. Turn down my music a little bit so you guys can hear me. Kicked off this past Tuesday. Today's the 23rd. It kicked off, what was that, 5 days ago. And ironically enough, it is already approaching its limit on futures contracts for the month of October, and we still have 7 days left of the month. There's probably only like 5 trading days, but still, I think that goes to show that the interest in a Bitcoin ETF was there. I think we all knew that. We're going to start seeing more ETFs probably spring up. Obviously, there's tons of other people that have applied. And now that we have our first one, it kind of opens the door for other ones. There's been talk about a spot ETF, because right now these are futures contracts, which is a little different than a spot. They're not actually buying Bitcoin, so it's a little different, but it does affect price. That new interest is there, obviously. The big talk, everyone likes to talk about funding rates and as a metric to know when we're kind of overheated and when maybe to expect a pullback, which I think it's a great metric, especially in times where we see tons of leverage across multiple exchanges. And I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. I think using viewbase.com, you can look at the funding. This tells us if the majority of people are long or short, and you can kind of just see the balance of trades go one way or the other. Usually they get overheated on the long side, and when price is climbing in a straight line, and then funding just goes out of control, you can usually expect a pullback, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So we did make an all-time high. It got up to 67K. This was days after the ETF, maybe the second day on the ETF, we pumped past all-time high. Was just euphoric. The market was euphoric. I mean, look at these. This is the weekly chart, and we have these 3 white knight candles, right? We had a bullish engulfing right here, and the 2 following weeks put us all the way to all-time high. And now we're in that 4th week, and we've poked all-time high. This looks like an SFP on the weekly right now, but look, I don't think we are going to have this monthly candle, this is what I'm watching right now. This is my main chart I'm looking at, is the monthly chart. I want to see this monthly candle close above 58.8, which is that previous all-time high close on the monthly. And then from there, retest 58.8, maybe give us a scare below that, wick down below, get back above that 58.8, and then, November just send it, and even December send it. And a lot of people will keep talking, hey, double top, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, it could be a double top. We need to, anything could happen, right? Like if let's say traditional markets go to shit, I do think they're going to be slightly correlated, but they're not going to be exactly correlated because Bitcoin is a completely different beast. I think the narrative surrounding Bitcoin is way different than stocks and traditional markets. Although if we do have a liquidity event, we do know that Bitcoin isn't resistant to that, right? Like the March 2020 crash, Bitcoin fell to like 3K. You know, it was a major liquidity event. When people need cash, they sell whatever they have, and Bitcoin isn't resistant to that. So you need to be prepared at all times for anything like that, especially with this much leverage in markets. I probably wouldn't even use any leverage for the rest of this bull run, because I think it's going to be very volatile. I think this is the final quarter of this bull run from the halving that we had in 2020. You know, bull runs, Bitcoin bull runs don't generally last 2 or 3 years long, and we're kind of approaching, you know, over a year and a half now, and it's getting, I don't want to say overheated. I think things are more bullish than ever right now. We just had our first ETF approved. They've printed $4 trillion worth of spending in the past year and a half. Markets are overheating. We have inflation everywhere. You know, I don't think that's going to stop with Bitcoin. I think we're going to see inflation in prices across the board continually here until we get our money spending under control, which if you look at what the Democrats are trying to push and their spending bills, and it's never ending. I think anyone that has been following markets for a while and keeps listening to these people saying, oh, this could all go to shit in a hurry, like, yeah, it's probably going to eventually, but like right now the Fed is stuck. They have to keep printing money to keep this thing up. They're propping up the economy because they have no other choice, and if they taper and raise rates, it's going to crash the economy. So I doubt they're going to do that, right? So they're going to find a balance, and I think it's going to keep Bitcoin on the rise. So anyways, that's the monthly chart. That's what I want to see. I want to see us close above 58.8, retest it, maybe get a little bit above it, and then off to the races. If we look at the 3-day chart, here I'm going to turn off my Ichi cloud. Look at this beautiful, beautiful cup and handle breakout. In my last video, we were right here. I was telling you guys that I think that because we're so close to this trend line, that it is a great opportunity for a long. I said we had this cup and handle pattern. If we break out of it, the target is like 75K. If you measure it from the bottom of the cup to the top of the cup, which is also the trend line for the cup and handle, you see that we broke out of this consolidation. Like, look at this. This is so beautiful. Like, look at this price action. Okay, we had this major crash, right? The China FUD. We consolidated in this perfect little falling wedge, broke out of it, and then we consolidated in this beautiful handle in the cup and handle and broke out of it. And then we just have been so bullish since approaching the all-time highs. I mean, look how the trajectory of this is insane. I mean, with the ETF, all this bullishness, this breakout, you know, basically once we broke out of this, it was like, okay, this is not a complacency shoulder, this is consolidation. And that's exactly what happened. We broke above. This gray box is the weekly, monthly area that I want to see us defend, right? It's the top of that monthly area. So I drew kind of a box to, that way when I zoom in on the chart, I kind of know that's the area I wanted to hold. We've dipped our toes into it. I think we could dip even a little further. And you know, what could happen is we could come all the way back down here and kind of bounce off of this 50K major support or this trend line over here. I don't think that's going to happen. I think at the very most we're probably going to dip down into this 55K area and bounce. But if we're as bullish as I think we are, I don't think we're going to get below this gray box, to be honest. And from there, you know, we get back above this 64,990, which is the previous all-time high, and it's off to the races from there. I think that's going to happen. I think the next 2 to 3 months are going to be bullish as hell, guys. We just got to keep our eye on these funding rates, on the open interest, on like exchanges like Bybit. You can see we got above 2 billion on the open interest, which just means that so many people were going long on leverage, and eventually price got ahead of itself and we started to correct. And you know, I kind of was tweeting about this the other day. Like, this is a good tool to use to keep in your back pocket. You want to be aware of it for sure, because when funding gets out of control, it definitely means that volatility is probably coming. But as you can see over time, I mean, open interest has gotten close to 4 billion before, and we're just below 2 billion right now, and we're flirting with all-time highs. So, you know, while I think it's a metric we need to be aware of and keep track of, I think as the market grows, it might not be as, I don't know, it's going to be tougher to judge when we're going to have those pullbacks, I guess. But I definitely do recommend keeping it in your tool shed, you know. Be aware of funding rates. Make sure you guys watch this Travis Kling Yahoo interview. I think he says it best, man. He says it would be extremely odd to have a 6-month 54% pullback, consolidation, accumulation, and then expansion to new all-time highs, only to have price just go a little bit higher. That's just not typically how these things work out. And he's exactly right. I mean, on our last video we talked about, this is the point where we find out if this is the complacency shoulder. And it was kind of scary. I was like, man, this chart doesn't look great, right? Because if we don't bounce here, we get below this, it definitely looks like distribution and that we did top and that this is probably the end of the bull market. That's not what happened. We broke out of it, which told us this was consolidation. After this breakout and this breakout, that to me just tells me how bullish we are, especially with the ETF. More ETFs are coming. Dips are for buying, guys. Like this, we've entered a new paradigm. This is the double bubble. We've all been talking about it. It's here. It's here. Now let's talk about those two alts. One of them's been Solana. It's the ETH killer. It is the fast Ethereum. It's what ETH is trying to become, because Ethereum is proof of work. It's trying to go to proof of stake. Solana is already proof of stake. It's built by, you know, guys that are working with Sam Bankman and FTX, so they've got the backing of him. And by the way, FTX is just killing it. They just had a Series B round where they had 69 people fund a Series B, and they created like $420 million or something like that, or maybe it was billions. I can't even remember, but they raised so much fucking money. They had their opening night at the FTX Arena in Miami the other night. It was bananas. They gave $500 of crypto to every person sitting in a certain section in the arena. So I thought that was kind of cool. A good way to get people involved in crypto. Just getting it out there. I mean, people keep saying, oh, this is just like telling us this is the top, all this people talking about crypto and sponsorships and yada yada. It's like, no, this is good for the space. This is adoption that we're witnessing. You need to remain bullish until the charts tell us otherwise. But if we look at Solana here, I mean, every time it's consolidated and broke out, it's gone on these major runs, and we just had another one of those breakouts. We flirted with all-time highs, and now we're correcting a little bit, just like Bitcoin is. And I think this is going to keep going, man. I think you know, $700 to $1,000 is probably a decent target. At least $500 per coin for this cycle. I think if things get really wonky, like I think they will be at the end of this cycle, like they always do, things just get ahead of themselves. I think we're going to see plus $1,000 Solana at some point in the next few months. Definitely in the next bull cycle, but so yeah, Ethereum killer. It has its own DEX, its own Phantom wallet, which is like its own MetaMask. So it's got NFTs, all that shit. It's a lot faster, cheaper fees. It doesn't cost a gang of money to mint. So yeah, I think it's the future. It's eating up that market share while ETH kind of sucks. I mean, ETH is an elitist chain right now. Like, if you have lots of money and you're buying really expensive art, then the fees probably aren't that bad to you. But if you're like the average person and you're trying to operate on ETH, it's like unoperatable. You have to spend hundreds of dollars on fees just to do shit on the chain. So it's frustrating for the normal person. So that's why a lot of people are migrating to faster, cheaper chains like Solana. So that's my plug. I've been in it since $3 and it's at $200. And I think it's just going to continue to go up because it's everything ETH's trying to be. And then the other one is Track, and this is a micro cap. It is still below $1 billion total market cap. It's only at 300 million. Super small, but these guys have partnerships up the wazoo. They are a what do I want to say? They are an ERC20 token, so you can store it in your MetaMask. You can buy it on Uniswap, KuCoin, Bittrex. Those are the main exchanges. But I just really like the chart. If we look at the weekly, exclude this major wick, and it just looks really pretty, right? I mean, this is the clear breakout area. It's only a 300 million market cap coin. It's dipping its toes in the NFT space. I think it could go a lot higher. If it gets to a $3 billion market cap, it would be at $10, and I think that's super reasonable, considering all the projects that are worth a lot more than Origin Trail right now. I mean, if Shiba Inu can get to 14 billion, I think Track can get to 3 billion. Is kind of what I'm getting at. It's just a solid project. Do your own research. But yeah, super bullish for the last quarter of the year, guys. This is clearly not complacency shoulder. I doubt we're going to put in a double top. We could consolidate down to this blue trend line, but I think that would be worst case scenario. Get back above the green, and it's off to the races. I'll see you guys at 6 digits, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright guys, peace out. Oh hell no.